Hello everyone, Alada here, and today I'm going to be doing a deficit strategy guide. And so I'll basically just be explaining the basic principles of deficit strategies, how they work, why they work, stuff like that. So anyways, the basic principle of a deficit strategy is to be running deficits of certain products, which allows you to make more of other products. If you're making a large amount of top tier products, those being Space Colony and Space Force, or even Navy, but you really shouldn't be making Navy because it's basically useless. Um, Either of those two are considered top tier, and anything less is not really top tier. It can be high tier, but not top tier. There are two ways of making money. Well, really three. So the first, most unreliable, but also easily the best way is crowdfunding. So how crowdfunding works is if enough people pledge things, then you you are successful, and if you've pledged enough of every item, you get to double your money. And most of the time, if you're any late game player, all you care about is the last product, and you can just try and buy the other ones off the player market to just get enough to double what you have in the last ones. But the problem with this is it's completely random what is chosen, so you can't count on this at all to fund any of your ventures. Then the second way is the wholesale. So with World Fair enabled and wholesale partners, you will get your top tier product a decent amount of times, and how much they buy is relative to your production. So this allows you to fuel pretty big deficits. As with your deficits, what you can do is that will mean you are making more of your top tier product, which means your wholesale orders will be more, which means you have more money for deficits, and it can snowball pretty well. Can't snowball too much. It used to be able to, but then wholesale was changed a few times, and now it can only fuel a little smaller of deficits. Another way that deficits are good is if you have a lot of resource stockpiled. Say you left the game for like a week while you were making social networks and space stations, you will presumably have enough of them to fuel a pretty big scale production of space colonies. Um, and then the final way is if you're making any lower tier product, you can use player trade. And it doesn't even have to be a low tier product. Like, you could try doing deficit strategies making space stations, because they are usually in fairly high demand on the player market. And so, once you have deficits, how you basically feed them is two ways. You can either buy them off the player market or buy them from the in-game market just with yourself. And how you can do that either by buying them naturally or using shopping spree. Using shopping spree is probably better. I don't really like shopping spree, like I use it, but I just kind of hate the design of it, because like uh, technically any human can do pretty easily what shopping spree does, just cover your deficits for that period of time. But you can do it better. Shopping spree is only really for convenience, which is what kind of really annoys me about it. I feel like since it's just for convenience, you should be able to toggle which resources it buys and which ones it doesn't. And you can kind of do that by turning on auto sell for a resource, but if your stockpile is stored in the trade center, then it won't get shipped out, which means you're kind of screwed then, because it's just all tied up, stuck in the trade center. So yeah, shopping spree is a good option because it spreads out your buying evenly throughout the day, which is generally pretty good because if you only check on the game once a day, then you would have to buy it all in that one period, which would greatly have inflation. If you are checking on the game a lot, it's probably better not to use shopping spree and just buy when prices are lower, try and get some off the player market. But yeah, that's a basic guide on deficits. Honestly, it's not really anything too complicated. The trickier part is finding the right balance, and you still do need some lower tier buildings just so you can increase your production and get it so that your shopping spree or buying costs are lower by reducing elasticity. And anyways, that's it. If you feel like it, you can subscribe.